Thank you for having me, and good day to the audience and audience members and distinguished guests. My name is Maurice Madiba. I look after primary markets at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, the JSE. And primary markets is a division within capital markets at the JSE. But a little bit of background on myself. By study, I'm an accountant, so that is being a profession of mine post varsity, and I got involved in investment banking at an early age, where I worked for Deutsche Bank, and post that, then started my own business, which looked at African equities, African markets in general. So we ran an ETF called the Big 50, and subsequently, prior to joining the JSC, exited that business off to one of the brokers here in South Africa. So it's been quite an interesting journey for me to kind of study and deconstruct the African Renaissance and those themes, which I also studied for on a short course. And it's really been good to see the experience and some of the needs of the continent from the lens of financing and accounting. I enjoy we have a lot of meetings as part of my pastime, but one of my other favorite pastimes is basketball. So many years ago, many moons ago, I founded a basketball team here called Randburg Rhinos, which became quite popular and was able to win a few championships, which is good. I know Angola has a very strong basketball culture, so it's good to be among fellow ballers. So, in my current role, as head of primary markets at the JSC, I look after three distinguished asset classes, which are the JSC's traditional products in the sense of listings. So that's equity listings and IPOs. I also look at the listings of bonds and fixed income, in which area we also have sustainability. And then I look after specialist securities, which is the issuance of portfolio funds like exchange traded funds, warrant structured products, and some of the listed derivative products. And it's quite an interesting portfolio because joining the exchange at a time such as this, we are looking for listings, but one always goes back to the traditional values that a stock exchange is meant to be where buyer and seller meet and where companies come to raise capital. So, in my role, it's great to connect projects and companies with investors that are looking to then come to market, be in a regulated environment, and be able to offer their shares to the general public in a fair and efficient manner. And within JSE, we've had quite a few delistings, as any exchange has had globally, and we've been trying to understand and assess what has led to that phenomenon and what interventions we can introduce to the market to then reduce the number of delistings. And with some success, which we are grateful for, we've been able to see a reduction in the delistings, and we've been able to see an increase in the number of new listings. One of the companies that came to market in 2023 when I joined was a company called Copper 360, and they had been raising capital for some time or looking at. Then they finally IPO'd on one of our markets and were able to raise the capital they needed to develop their plant. And copper is an interesting material and mineral in that it is dubbed a critical mineral and a mineral for the future of the globe's energy consumption. So being able to see that come to fruition and come to market really resonated with the history of the JSE, being known for South Africa's gold rush back in the 1800s, and where companies and people then came to South Africa to raise capital. And just the sheer volumes that of companies that listed, one of them still being listed today being DRD Gold, is quite amazing. And I think that Africa and the rest of the African continent is on the cusp of a new type of mineral rush, which I could call the critical minerals rush. And it's important that we understand the role that our mineral deposits play in this particular rush, and what it's going to mean for the future of the rest of the world, and how we can access and tap into them sustainably and in a way that then allows us to build our societies in a dignified manner. So, mining's importance to primary markets is very vital. Mining companies have a variety of capital requirements, whether it's funding for exploration, which we're starting to see come back, particularly in South Africa, funding for pilot plants, funding for expansion, and then generally development. Mining is one of those industries that requires big pockets of capital, and primary markets is suited specifically to assist there in the sense that we're able to draw from these big pockets of capital, being institutional investors, and then deploy capital into projects where companies would be expanding, where companies would be exploring, where they are then tapping into these minerals and playing to the globe's demand for mining and the commodity cycles that we see play out. So it is not only that we're there for the initial set of capital that's required, but also secondary capital raises, which we see come to market from time to time. And because of the fluctuation and volatility of commodity prices, investors having the ability to tap into primary markets and really access capital when it's needed is of vital importance. And for us as primary markets, being able to facilitate those capital raises is also quite important to us and is held in high regard. So when I look at our sector in terms of mining opportunities within Angola, it's being known for the oil deposits, and due to exploration, there's been the discovery of other minerals within the country that are of use and of interest to investors, not only in Angola but around the world. And the mining sector in Angola, for me, is really twofold because these new deposits need to then be mined and then be brought to market, and that really offers an opportunity for further industrialization of the country. So that is an exciting prospect that I look for. And in the same breath and token, been watching with keen interest the development of the different corridors from a logistics perspective, which connect a variety of African countries. So Angola does have that opportunity to then become a trading hub for African minerals, particularly coming out of Central Africa and then being transported westward. So I think those are the opportunities that are there. However, there can be challenges from time to time in the sense of some instability or what could be perceived as instability by the global markets. And again, some of the challenges of commodity prices. Although in the last few years since COVID, there has been an uptick in that. But really, I think one of the issues would be how do you introduce stability that investors are happy with, both from a political perspective, but also then from a monetary perspective, where investors will be bringing large amounts of foreign currency and investing in projects, and wanting that capital formation to really follow through and be able to exit their capital when they should choose to, and really have no issues there, as well as maintaining some of the currency volatility is also one of the risks that investors may look at, or one of the challenges that investors may want to grapple with. And so Angola is really positioning itself to become a premium mining destination on the African continent. So my vision when I consider Angola is we are watching it very much with keen interest and wanting to see the projects come to fruition in terms of it being a hub. Not only is it a hub for the minerals in Central Africa and coming across, but also can play a role for the interregional African trade, which is important as AFCFTA is coming to fruition and has been ratified by majority of African governments. The connectedness of African countries becomes of vital importance where you can have rail lines, road, electricity, and water going to some of the sites where mines do take place, and you consider Angola and its already established oil industry, and what else can be added to this from a logistics perspective, it's really going to be interesting and to watch with a keen eye how they industrialize this segment of the Angolan economy, and really provide opportunities to investors to participate in that. It would be my view to want to see capital formation within the country through the stock exchange, Bovida, and having more companies list there, and also potentially list in South Africa as an additional source of liquidity and funding. Yes. So I think when I consider it, speaking from a South African perspective, we have a department here called, well, it used to be known as the DMRE, but now it's the DMPR, that looks after mining rights, and that is also engaged in the establishment and deployment of capital for the Exploration Fund, which are two very new initiatives that we're quite excited about. And when one looks at the mining sector, the land rights and the mining rights, the efficiency in licensing entities that are looking at doing these activities is going to be quite important. And I'll share some lessons of what we have done in South Africa, as well as some of the innovations that we're exploring, which markets like Australia and Canada do with exceptional efficiency, which is the concept of flow through shares. And this is really targeted at junior miners, and meeting them with investors, and looks at some of the tax policies that are required to implement such a funding mechanism and structure for companies. And it would be really be my wish to share some of these lessons and experiences with the audience at AIM, and really then engage with them and also answer any questions that the audience may have for me. So, an event of this nature is very important, and I think that more countries should host events of of this nature throughout the year. In South Africa, we have the Mining in Durban, which takes place in February, which is highly well attended, and this Angola International Mining Conference and Summit is going to be one for the history books, given the fact that the government has made strides in introducing ease into the sector, reducing regulatory burden, introducing efficiency, and there's also mega projects that are being invested in, which not only your mega miners and extractive players can participate in, but also some of your emerging and junior players can then participate in, because the key to Africa's growth is infrastructure. And the fact that Angola's got billions of dollars worth of infrastructure being invested, and particularly to connect with other African regions, is just spectacular. And I think that the importance of that for the mineral sector is going to be keen to watch, because these become the customers of your logistics, your rolling stock, of your rail, of your industrialization. And so even users of power, the extractive sector is so, and a large employer. So it's really, I think, advisable for me to see more countries do this. And I think the importance of this is really going to be one for the record books when it takes place in October. Um, just to add, I look forward to seeing and engaging with you all, and I am available for discussions pre and post the event, and really looking forward to the rich discussions that we'll be having on the panel, and look forward to the address by the head of state, and also distinguished guests and dignitaries.